Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Just like to say thank you very much to our lunch sponsor, Essentia, for that wonderful spread of food and drink that we've all been able to take advantage of. I should have said that before, so I'm saying it now. These kind of events don't happen if people aren't willing to put some money behind the functioning of the day, so we really appreciate it, and we appreciate being able to eat well, so we have brain power for the afternoon session. We still have a lot to get through. Very delighted to be able to welcome up to the stage our next speaker, the founder of NEO, who's going to talk to us about the state of blockchain in China, both now and in the future. This both relates to what's happening in China in the blockchain industry in terms of investors and traders, but also he's going to touch on the future progress of NEO. So welcome to the stage, Hongfei. Thank you.
It's so good to be here. Bangkok is so hot. Are you feeling the heat? Yeah, I flew here yesterday. Actually, it's today, the midnight, 3 a.m., but I didn't feel any jet lag right now. I'm really excited to be here, to be able to talk to you guys, share my thoughts about blockchain in China and the future of NEO and other projects. So today, my topic will be the status of blockchain in China. But I'll take 3 examples, that is NEO, Onchain, and Ontology. These are 3 projects that somehow are related to me. First, I need to introduce myself. I think maybe some of you didn't know me. My name is Hongfei. Da is my family name. It's a very quite rare family name in China. And I'm the founder of NEO, the first and biggest blockchain, public blockchain in China. And I'm also the founder and CEO at Onchain. It's a private company doing business with a private company building distributed technologies for enterprise. And there is a new project coming. It's called Ontology that is funded or initiated by Onchain, the company. So my topic will be, my topic will be NEO, talk about NEO. I will briefly introduce NEO about its history. NEO started 3 years ago, so it's not that new. It's a little bit old in the crypto world. It's the first Chinese public blockchain. And I did a speech in the Chinese first Bitcoin conference. And the title is a DAO for crowdfunding. That is basically where the idea of NEO came from. Did you guys know the old name of NEO? Any of you know? Yes, Anshares. But that's a little bit awkward name, right? Yeah. So basically, when we started Anshares or we started NEO, it's a blockchain for crowdfunding. At that time, there is no such word called ICO. Everything is crowdfunding. So why we come up with this idea? Because I'm a user of bitcointalk.org. It's a forum. And at that forum, some Chinese guy initiated a crowdfunding for ASIC miner. You know ASIC miner? That's the miner today. Yeah. Before ASIC miner is CPU mining and GPU mining. But that project is the first ASIC miner built in the world. And he is funded by crowdfunding. That's why we came up with the idea to build a blockchain for crowdfunding. And then we started to get some seed funding from private investors. That is about $90,000 US. With that kind of money, you can buy a decent car at that time, or maybe today. And then we promised to give 10% of all the tokens to the seed funding investors. At this time now, 10% token of NEO is probably you can use that kind of money to buy a 777 jet. Yeah. And then we started coding after almost a year. There's lots of brainstorming, lots of thinking about how to do it right. There's 2 ICOs in the history of NEO. It's not like other projects. Many other projects, they do 1 ICO and get a lot of money. We did our first ICO in 2015, and we got little over 2,000 Bitcoins. At that time, Bitcoin is really cheap. Yeah, I regret I didn't buy more Bitcoins. And we got about 700,000 US dollars. And then 2 months later, we launched the testnet. We did our second ICO, or the last ICO, in 2016. That's approximately 1 year ago, and we raised 6,000 Bitcoins. That's equivalent to 3.8 million US dollars. At that time, the money is quite good. It's not bad. But comparing today's ICO in 2017, it's just small. And we launched our mainnet 1 month later. So our funding process is quite different from other ICOs. We did it in several rounds, in 3 rounds. And every time we do a fundraising, we hit or is about to hit some milestone. And then in the middle of this year, we did our rebranding from Onchain to NEO. Before the rebranding, there's really not so many Western or other country, non-Chinese blockchain community does not know this project. After the rebranding, we just caught attention from the Western community. They look at the white paper, they checked our source code, and they found the design is very interesting. There are 2 tokens. They're using different consensus mechanism, and the technology is really solid. So we got a lot of attention, and the price just soars. And then last month, we announced a full amount give back plan. What is a full amount give back plan? We plan to give back all the money we got in ICO 1, ICO 2, and fundraising to all the contributors at the value when they invest in the Bitcoin. So after we finish the give back plan, I believe we are the first project in the world that returned all the money to the investors. And the investors basically get free NEO. I hope we can be a good example for other ICOs. And what's new today? Now it's a screenshot from Market Cap. I think it's 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and it moves quite a lot. But constantly, we're ranked the top 10 public blockchains in the world, and the biggest one in China. And the community behind NEO is very, very strong. There are over 40,000 subscribers in Reddit, and it's growing. And there are hundreds of subscribers on Twitter, fan Facebook group, GitHub forks. So it's a very strong community. And the community contributes not just money, not just buying tokens. They do stuff. They do coding. There are several wallets developed by the community. There are several blockchain explorers. There are 7 language documentations, all translated by the community. And they even built a Python and JavaScript compiler, the developer kit. And there are numerous YouTube videos, news portals, and other tools. And we are holding contests, holding meetups, and there will be a DevCon, the first NEO DevCon in January, probably in San Francisco next year. And now, I was always being asked how many apps, decentralized apps are there on top of NEO. So the first one, finished ICO on NEO is called Red Pulse, and they claim to be the Bloomberg on blockchain. They raised about 15 million US dollars in 68 minutes. The CEO is also here. He will share his idea about his project later as a panelist. And then there is a very interesting project coming up. It's called NEX, or Neon Exchange. It's a DEX with best of both words. Do you guys know what's a DEX? DEX. It's decentralized exchange. In the past 1 or 2 years, Ethereum had been picking up really quickly. I think that is because ICO is so popular. ICO just helped Ethereum to become one of the biggest blockchain in the world. But for the next 1 or 2 years, my belief is decentralized exchange will be the next big thing. So NEX, or Neon Exchange, is a decentralized exchange. But the difference is you don't need to trust the exchange. It's decentralized. But also, you will get the same experience, user experience, as a centralized exchange. So it's the best of both worlds. It is started and developed by the new community. There are 5 founders. I believe 3 of them are based in the States, and 1 from UK, 1 from Switzerland. And there are other upcoming projects like QLink, The Key, AlphaCard, DeepBrain, Peer Atlas. Some of them are related to China. Some of them are in the Western world. And there are other projects. They are not doing ICO on top of NEO or building dApps on top of NEO, but they use the same new contract system. I believe new contract system, as of today, is the only working smart contract system other than Ethereum. And there are other projects. They first built their dApps on Ethereum, and now they're porting their dApps to NEO. I've talked about the history, the current state of NEO, but what is NEO anyway? So you can see from the logo, it says NEO Smart Economy. So my definition for NEO is an open network for smart economy, and it's a public blockchain. But what is a smart economy? I think in the future, the economy should be more transparent, should be more fair, more inclusive. And today, we spend a lot of resources, cost, to build trust. Trust is so expensive. My wild guess will be 1/3 of all the cost is somehow related to trust. We hire accountants, we hire lawyers, the government exists all for trust. So I'm hoping NEO will be the technology to reduce the cost of trust to a minimal level and to maybe not eliminate, but minimize the middleman. The best way to explain one thing is to compare it to something you guys might already know. So I'm going to compare NEO and Ethereum. That's the most frequently asked question to me. What's the difference between NEO and Ethereum? Why we need a new blockchain? I think the biggest difference is design philosophy. NEO is for, I will talk about design philosophy later. And then because of different design philosophy, it boils down 2 aspects, the technical difference and the economic difference. And there are different bullet points. I'll explain the design philosophy first. If you open the homepage of NEO and Ethereum, you will see 2 different styles. NEO is more like white and green. Ethereum is more, yeah. Okay, the keyword for NEO is smart economy and be compliant ready. We cannot be 100% compliant. It's not possible, but we can be compliant ready. And the keyword for Ethereum is to be a blockchain app platform and to build unstoppable applications. So at NEO, we are thinking about how to link, how to bridge the real and the digital. Okay, let's come to some technical difference. There are 3 major technical differences. The first is consensus mechanism. The consensus mechanism used in NEO is called delegated BFT. It's a 2-tier system. For the first tier, every NEO holder can vote who can take part in the consensus process. And then for the second tier, those elected consensus nodes will reach consensus block by block. It's more like a Congress. You select a congressman, and the congressman reach consensus every block. But the difference is, in the Congress, we use a BFT consensus method, or also called Byzantine fault tolerance. So a congressman really in NEO does not have a lot of power. And the beauty of this consensus is it's non-forkable. There will be no network split in NEO. So you just need one confirmation to make sure your transaction went through. You don't need to wait for 6 confirmations or 15 confirmations. So that's good for financial use. And the Ethereum, I believe today they're still using mining. It's very, it's cost a lot of resources. And they will switch to proof of stake. But whether mining or proof of stake, it's still forkable. And the second biggest difference in technical is our smart contract system. NEO's smart contract system, or new contract, supports generic languages, including C#, Java, JavaScript, and Python. And in the future, we plan to support Go language and C. And if you are building smart contract on top of Ethereum, you need to learn new languages like Solidity or Serpent. Because of these differences, NEO have a very good scalability. We can handle over 1,000 transactions per day because we have a technology called dynamic sharding. The block maker can decide how to parallelly processing all the smart contract, all the transactions on the fly, every block. That is why I believe NEO is probably the best platform to run a decentralized exchange on top of it. Decentralized exchange needs a very good speed, very high throughput, and NEO is perfect for that. So I'm really have a very high expectation for the future decentralized exchange on top of NEO. Besides the technical difference, there are economic difference. The first one is the tokens. There are 2 tokens in NEO. One is NEO, another is gas. Unlike there are other projects, usually they have 1 token. NEO is the first one with a dual token design. Why? Why we do that? Because I feel strange if I own a share of Apple, then when I want to buy Apple X or Apple 10, I need to spend my share to do that. It feels strange. If I want to keep the ratio of my share in Apple, I need to buy the share buyback again. So it's just not feel natural. That is why we separate token, stake from utility. But other projects, they mixed stake with utility. Another difference is fees. In NEO, you don't need to pay fees for transaction if you are an average user. The business pay fees. So that's why there are not so many smart contracts on top of NEO, because it's expensive to deploy a smart contract. It costs you about 500 gas today. So if you saw a smart contract on top of NEO, I bet it's a serious smart contract. And the governance model of NEO is different. We have identifiable validators, so it's compliant ready. And the governance model off-chain is quite different. There is an organization behind NEO called NEO Council. We made a very bold decision when we started Onchain in 2014. We plan to reserve 50% of all the tokens. That's a big amount at that time. At that time, if you are doing a blockchain and you started pre-mining, everybody will say you are so greedy. So keeping 50% of the token is super greedy. But fortunately, I saw a lot of projects doing the similar way in the past 1 or 2 years. So that gives us a lot of power to help NEO to grow faster, because we are a little bit late. We are a few months behind Ethereum when we started. So today, NEO Council holds 50 million NEO tokens. That is approximately $2 billion. We will use this resource to foster the ecosystem, to help developers to bring business on board. So that is what we will do in the next few years. Okay, I have introduced NEO, and now company, Onchain. What is Onchain? What Onchain does, Onchain is building distributed ledger technology for enterprises. When we are doing NEO, there are many enterprise financial institutions came to us and asked us to help them to do some project. And at first, we just did it. And then we realized it should be an independent business. So we registered the company, and it's called Onchain. It's partially funded by me and another co-founder, and it's also invested by Fosun Group, one of the biggest investment group in China. And the product of Onchain is called DNA, or Distributed Networks Architecture. It is not a blockchain. It's a template for blockchain. You can use DNA to build other blockchains. It may be a public blockchain, consulting blockchain, or private ones. And there are many use cases with DNA. The first one is we worked with the local government in China, the Guiyang government. We built an identity chain for them. And we also worked China Clearing, that's the counterparty of DTCC in the United States, and we built an equity crowdfunding platform. We also work with Everbright Security, and we own a child company called LegalChain to do electronic data attestation. And there are many other use cases. But we are not fulfilled when we are doing those blockchains. Why? And those consulting or private blockchains did not really be a huge success. Some of the financial institutions, they did a POC and then they just stopped. Why? We kept thinking, why so? I think the problem is we lack of two things on blockchain. There are many companies doing underlying technology. There are many companies doing upside applications, but we lack of two things. One is a stable currency to act as a settlement layer. Another is a digital identity to mapping the real-world legal relationship onto the blockchain. If we don't have stable currency, we don't have digital identity, all the business on blockchain will be experimental. You can't bring real business onto blockchain. So this is a pitch deck I showed to many venture capitalists in China in 2016. I described our vision, a world of many interoperable blockchains with on-chain DNA. And in this world, there are digital identity chain, there are a capital settling chain. So we decided to start a project. On-chain started this project. It's called Ontology. Ontology is open infrastructure for distributed trust. It's not just an identity blockchain. There are many identity blockchains like Civic or others. Ontology acts as an infrastructure. It does not do the real business with ontology. But if you build application on top of ontology, basically you do three things. First is identification. The users can create and control their own identity. That's given an identity to a person or to an organization or to an object. The second thing you can do is attestation or attach data to those IDs. You can attach a work experience to one person. You can attach qualification to one person or other logistic data to an object. And the third thing is the most interesting one. If you own an ID, you control an ID, you can authorize other people to use the data that is attached to this ID. So ontology can act as an authorization layer. It is very difficult to authorize data usage today. You have to go through different processes. But with ontology, you will have a unified authorization layer. NEO and ontology can work together. Ontology will use NEO contract, and ontology can work as a buffer zone to connect conventional business to NEO. It's not just in China, but in the world. It is very difficult to bring those conventional business on board to an open, transparent, public blockchain. There are different barriers like policy, like regulation, or even law. So we decided to build an ontology network. It's a hybrid network. It's mixed with public blockchain, consulting blockchain, and private blockchain. And those enterprises can build their own ontology blockchain and connect it to the bigger ecosystem. Also, applications on ontology can use NEO to issue their tokens, and they can use NEO as a payment rail, and their tokens can be traded on the decentralized exchange on NEO. So that's the relationship between ontology and NEO. They complete each other. My last slides is about China, regulations in China. I think all of you know what happened in China in September, right? The government just banned a lot of things. Actually, they banned two things. The first is ICO, but in a strict manner. It is illegal now in China to do an ICO to raise funds to the general public. But it is still legal to do a fundraising privately or to accredited investors. That's the first thing banned by Chinese government. And second is cryptocurrency exchange. All the big cryptocurrency exchange has been closed in China, unfortunately. I came across Bitcoin in 2011. At that time, there's no community in China. There's only a few people knows Bitcoin, and they don't really talk to each other. I don't know others who are interested in Bitcoin. It's only since 2013, when the Bitcoin price just goes up so quickly, there are some people interested in Bitcoin and formed a community in China. And I bought my first Bitcoin in 2012. At that time, the price is about $10 US. I really regret I didn't buy more. Yeah. Do you know where I buy it? At BTCC, the first Chinese Bitcoin exchange. But unfortunately, they're closed a month ago or 2 months ago. But Chinese people are smart. They always find a way. All those exchanges like Huobi, like OKCoin, like BTCC, they opened some token-to-token exchange, use a foreign entity. It could be in Japan, it could be in Singapore or Hong Kong. So I think they're doing not bad, they're doing well, and they're attracting not just Chinese users, but also international traders. So that's cryptocurrency exchange. But why the government banned cryptocurrency exchange? The reason is very simple. There are capital controls in China. You can't move money freely from China across the board to other overseas. If cryptocurrency is licensed in China, that means you can easily avoid the capital control. You just buy Bitcoin with your fiat, with your RMB, and then your money becomes a global asset. You can transfer it to any country. So basically, that's the reason cryptocurrency exchange will not likely be legalized in next few years. But the PBOC, or the Central Bank of China, has said repeatedly that they plan to make Chinese yuan or RMB a internationally exchangeable money. They want to compete with US dollars. So I believe in the future, Chinese yuan will lose the capital control. And at that time, it is possible. Everything will be possible at that time. So that's two things banned by the government. The right side is what is legal. What is legal? Private or facing accredited investor fundraising is legal. And second, processing or peer-to-peer trading of Bitcoin is legal. Holding Bitcoin is perfectly legal in China, and you can do peer-to-peer trading, person-to-person, perfectly legal. And then mining is legal. There are rumors that mining is illegal and the Chinese government will crack down all the miners. It is not true. The reason some of the mining factories got closed is they talked to some local government and said, we are building a cloud computing center. Please give me free land. Please give me cheap electricity. And the government said, oh, good, cloud computing. And then after the ban of ICO and cryptocurrency, the local government just realized it's not cloud computing, it's mining for Bitcoin. Yeah. So as long as you are using law for electricity, mining is legal in China. And then last, blockchain development is perfectly legal. So I'm doing legal business in China. I have no problem in China, yeah. Okay, I would end my speak with this quote from the futurist Will Gibson. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. I hope with blockchain technology, we can bring future more soon. Thank you.